Good morning. Today's February 24th, and it's one of those, it's going to be in the 40s today. It's going to be a beautiful day, calm winds, and I'm going to take the bark off. This is the second black locust log from my friend Chris Bardick's property, and we're going to take the idea today is I'm going to take the bark off, check the layout, see if I can make 2, 3, 4 staves out of it. But I'll be happy to get the bark off and at least split it in half today. Under this top is a golf cart, but it's not really a golf cart because I never played golf in my life. But it's for local 3D tournaments there. It's my archery cart. So after the archery shoot the other day, my friend Chris Bardick had this beautiful red oak stave that he cut from his property, and it's 6 inches wide. And after I get done with the trimming up that black locust log behind me, one of these days, if it's going to be today or whenever, I'm going to trim this up, and I'm going to try to precisely cut this in half because it's 6 inches wide, and make 2 staves out of it. And what I'm going to do is it has winter bark, so I'm going to cut this down so it'll fit in my steamer. And what I found out is if I steam these logs for an hour and 15 minutes, I'm able to peel the winter bark off. So we're going to try this on red oak and see if it works. So like I said, this will be either the steaming will definitely be another day, and I'll have to see if I get around to trimming this up today after I tackle the bark on this one in sapwood. This here black locust is a irritant and poisonous. And when I take the bark off, the last one I noticed some dust flying around, so I had to put the mask on and all, but this seems to be coming off nice and clean. No particles flying around. So I'm just going to use this drawer knife and a bigger drawer knife, and I'm going to carefully watch and clean it up. If I see some particles, I'll put my mask on. This was a live tree less than 3 months ago, and I got to tell you, the bark's coming off pretty easy, And these are going to be cut into staves that are going to be shaped and eventually made into bows that'll be fire hardened. This will be fire hardened black locust bows. So I got the bark off, and this white stuff that I thought was like sapwood, I really didn't know what to call it here. This is the cambium, and after you take it off, this log here is 3 months old, and it was soaking wet and slimy. But what I'm doing now is just to show you this: 3 rings of sapwood that have to be removed. But when you take off the bark and that cambium, you're able to see where there's knots. I'll show you. I'll put a big one up here so you can see. You're able to see where there's some big knots, some small knots. See the little knot here? And what I'm going to do is just take the magic marker, since we got to take off 3 rings, and I'm going to circle where these knots are. See? Big knot here. And I'm going to circle all the knots on this log. And then what I'm going to do is rotate it and turn it around and see where I'm going to make the cut. I'm not going to make the cut based on anything but where I might have problems with knots, so I can make clean staves. I'm hoping to get 2. If I get more, it's a plus. But I just want to show you that. Now I circled all of the knots. This log is 73 inches long. And I'm going to just mark the center. And the center is just for no other reason than I'm going to see where I can lay out a bow, and I may be able to cut off a little bit on this end if there's a big knot, or a little on that end to get a stave out of it when I look at the layout. So we got 73 here, and I'm going to mark the center. So this is another fairly inexpensive yardstick. Actually, it's a little longer. It's 48 inches. This is another inexpensive Harbor Freight yardstick that's 1 5/8 wide. And what this is good for is, I have this marked, 36.5 because it's 73. But I'm able to lay this down and get an idea of where, with a little space on each side, where I could clear the knots to make bows out of. So this is a big help to have some kind of wide straight edge as a guide to figure out where you're going to make your cuts to split the log. I have a really nice surface here going down that, other than, pin knot here or there, is relatively trouble free. So I drew 2 lines straight down, and we're going to rotate this log 180 degrees and see what it looks like on the other side. Because this edge and the other edge is loaded with knots, as you can see the circles, right? And the idea is to have trouble-free as possible when we make the bow. You know how they say, look for a perfect piece of wood, so your life isn't that hard? Let's see what we got here. Okay, so let's see. This is up here, right? And then if we look here, this is on the edge of all the knots here, and the edge of the knots here. And I'm looking on the top, there's pin knotted too, which is okay. It's okay to have a little pin knot here and there. But because it's the large amount of knots on each side, we're only going to make 2 nice staves out of this. Because otherwise, you're going to have nothing but hassles. So here we go. I'm going to mark this side now, get the circular saw. I'm going to make cuts on both sides, and we're going to split it with wedges, an axe, a lump hammer. And the reason why it's high and not on the ground is because I have disc damage, nerve damage, and this is good. This is really good therapy for me, working on bows. Keeps me going, keeps me physically active. You can't succumb to any aches or pains. You got to go through it. So I'll show you after I finish drawing the lines, and I'm going to cut it. Okay, all the knots are below. Okay, mask and goggles or shield. I'm going to cut this straight. Now that I have these cut marks here, I'm going to put this chalk line in. Come down to this other cut line here. Just to make sure that I'm on the same path. And actually, that one's pretty good. Going to do the same on the other side here. Okay, this one's the inner one. And we're going to make cut marks on this side. Okay, because I got poisoned from this, had to go to the doctor. The room was blurry, I couldn't see, and she said, yeah, you got black locust poisoning. I can't say enough how toxic this sawdust is. It's poison, it's an irritant. Okay, wear your mask. Don't use a leaf blower and put it in the air and breathe it. If you do use a leaf blower, make sure it's away from you and you got your mask and goggles on. All right? So that's all I want to tell you. Be safe. Treat every wood like it's toxic because you never know. Just going to connect the ends, the splits for a wedge. Okay, it's starting to split nicely, and what I'm going to do is, once I get it split pretty much like I have it over here, I'm going to flip it over and start on the other side, like connect the dots. As you're splitting here, they're crackling and popping. Hey, look at that. Okay, we got the one side just off. By circling this knot here, you could see we avoided this big knot in the middle here. And there'll be plenty of room, top and bottom of the staves, to avoid this because it's nowhere near the limbs. So that's why circling sometimes these big knots and avoiding them really helps. And you may only get 2 staves, but you get 2 trouble-free staves instead of 3 nightmares or 4 nightmare staves. Okay, just to show you how nice this worked out. Okay, this is the middle section here. Okay, and it's 73 inches long. And when we trim this up, there's a knot here. It could be in the middle. There's nothing in the way of the limbs here. And I'm going to bring the camera around to the other side here just to show you. Okay, here's the center of a, 36.5 for a 73-inch log, so we could shorten it or whatever, but this knot will be in the riser handle somewheres. We can move it either way, but because we did what we did, there's nothing in the limbs. These are the 3 rings of sapwood we'll have to take down on each side. But let me show you here. Here's just some of the circles. Let me go back a little further so you could actually see. Here's some of the circles of the knots that were in these two sides that I took off, you know. So we avoided a lot of problems. You know, we avoided a lot of problems by removing these sides. We're able to get two really good staves that aren't going to give us a problem. I just figured I'd show you. Here's the sapwood rings. And I'm putting a pencil mark on them so I know how far to go down. I have actually a tool that I could set and run it along the back, but if you just hold your hand against this, against the back of the bow, the back is the part that's away from you, and hold it on the line of the sapwood, you're able to slide your hand down and follow the sapwood curve so you know where to take it down. Because if it dries up a little, it may be a little harder to see, so while we cut it now, we're going to mark it up. You know me, I can't let things sit. I'll probably have this down to a growth ring. I just don't think I feel up to it today. And it's that easy. Mark it on both sides so you have something to follow with your draw knife or whatever you use to take it down to the sapwood. And I'm just going to trace the ring down here on the other side too. So that's all there is to it. Just do those couple of things in preparation for taking it down. Just took a little break. I just want to show you how I'm going to take some of this sapwood down before I start using the draw knife, because I got 3 rings to go down. This is a little Ryobi planer. Okay, we have 3 rings to get down, so this really will help take some material down. And then I'm going to, of course, use the draw knife. Okay, we got the bevel side down on the draw knife, and we have our lines that we drew. And you take it down to that line. And you have to be careful because this is raw wood. And if you see, the raw wood sometimes will peel up big gouges. Okay? So you got to go slow. You can't be fast with this. Even though it's a lot of work, I do prefer taking it down with the draw knife all the way, but it is a lot of work. And the other thing I found out, if it tears one way and you go the other way, it tears less. And with this wood that's wet, I just sharpened this again. And once it's sharp, it don't tear that much. And you can see as I'm going down, I hope you could see this, I'm starting to get that nice yellow wood. So it's getting down to that hardwood. And at some point, it's going to be a long process, but I got to use a cabinet scraper so I don't tear or go, because the rings are so close. I don't want to violate any of them. I don't want to go down. I'd rather use a cabinet scraper and take my time than, you know, slow and steady won the race, you know. But you can start seeing some color coming through. So that's all I wanted to show you. You see the color coming through? Because of the rings are so thin, this will be finished up with a cabinet scraper. But down here, and I sharpened this. I keep this sharp. There's a couple of pin knots. You go around the pin knots. See, this is a lot of sapwood here. But now, as I go down, you can see the color starting to come through. Go nice and easy once you take some of this heavy sapwood off. And you see how I'm bringing it down? It's getting closer down. All right. I just have a little left before I finish up with a cabinet scraper. It's coming along good so far. But when you got this thick sapwood, just like chasing a ring, you go down on the edge like this here, because there's a lot of sapwood here. Then you go down on the other side on the angle, and then kind of work your way up to the top. Take that crown off. And now you see where it's smooth here. Now you got to be careful and just kind of bring it down. See how nice it's coming? It just takes time, you know. That's part of it. You know, people say, oh, I love chasing a ring. You know what? I don't know. I guess I'm older. I hate extra work. That's why I love getting whitewood in the spring, that you could just peel the bark off, draw your bow, and make a bow. All right? So that's all. I just wanted to show you how far we're progressing. And, you know, take the sides off, then the top. And with that cabinet scraper, I got to be careful. There's only one ring. That's why you know, there's a thin ring. So I'm going to use the cabinet scraper to make it really nice. Okay, we got all that sapwood off, and it's looking good. I could draw a bow on this now, and it would be fine. But we're just going to make it nice and clean. Before I lay out anything, if there's any dips, I have cabinet scrapers that are rounded to take out any sapwood in the dips, but these are thin rings. So there's a pin knot. I don't know where that's going to lay out, but go up to it, around it. That may not even be in the bow, but I want it to be good, just in case it is. Laid out a design. This is the design that I got from a friend, experienced bowyer, and it's 3/4 on the end, 8 inches down, 3/4. Then from the fade out to the end of the limb, we find the midpoint. So from that 3/4 to the midpoint, it goes down 1.25 inches, and then it goes down from 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches at that fade out. And this is for me, this bow. So it's going to be 66 inches, which I actually could use 64, but I'm going to make it 66. And we're going to trim it out. I'm going to cut off the ends and trim it out. Sometimes I just can't help myself. I start something and I don't want to stop until I get to a certain point where it's almost finished. So I laid out the design, trimmed it out on the bandsaw, took it down to about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to take the sander out, shape it, and put it away. Now lately I've been shooting the 3D with my Christmas bow. You know, it's the first tournament of the year, and I did pretty good. I tuned arrows to it, and I love it. So I figured I'm going to make another 35-pound bow out of black Locust, just to compare the two. And so that's what I'm going to do. This isn't a hunter bow. This is going to be another 3D bow. And I just want to see how they shoot, how they feel, just the difference between the woods. Okay, you see this one's got a little hump and a twist to it too. Dip, whatever you want to call it. But that's what this is going to be. It's going to be another 3D bow. Okay, once again, I'm going to show you how I sand this speedbow design. 8 inches is going to be fairly straight. Then from the midpoint, from here to the fade out, there's a midpoint. I overhang that. I have this nice and sanded. I have it overhanging. And this short distance from here to the midpoint, I'm going to take all the tool marks out of that. Then from that midpoint to the fade out, I'm smoothing the tool marks out of that. The rise is flat, and that's the end of it. That's how I do it. Well, I didn't expect to go from a log to a bow blank to a shaped bow here, but I did it, you know, and it came out nice. And we're going to put this on a back set jig tomorrow probably, or the next day. I don't know, see how I feel. And then I'm going to fire harden it one day. And this is floor tilled, and I don't want to put too much on it because it's a raw stave, but it's going to be only a 35-pound bow. I wanted it to be like my Christmas bow, and right now it's 66 inches, and my Christmas bow is 64. So I may take the 2 inches off to make it the same, exactly the same, because I really like it, you know. Have another 3D bow. So that's it. It's the end of this day. That's the end of me splitting up that black Locust log, making staves out of it. I got one good one, and you see all the knots. And another day we're going to, this is a red oak from my friend's property, Chris Bartek, and I'm going to cut this. I think I could cut this in half and then shape it and put it in a steamer and steam it for 1 hour and 15 minutes to take that winter wood off, the winter bark off, and then we're going to make bow blanks out of them. All right, have a good day. Every day you wake up is a good day. Make the best out of it. Make a bow. Go shoot. I cleaned up and decided before I go in, I'll put this on the back set jig. So I'll just show you. See, it needs to be heated up to fit the jig. So I'm going to use the heat gun, go back and forth, and get it to conform to the jig, and then I'm done. Well, I'm finally, I could say now, I'm finally done. All right, all I got to do is fire harden this thing, and then tiller it and shape it. So, came a long way from a log to calling it quits to it's ready to fire harden. All right, all done. It's inside, and I heard a pop, and this split. So I'm gonna fill this up with AE40 and glue it. Can't believe it. That was a loud pop. I'm like, what was that? Okay, just put enough pressure here to open this crack up again. And we got a toothpick here. I'm gonna put this glue in here. It's AE40 epoxy. Gonna have to flip this just to see how the crack looks on the other side. Okay, and put some glue in here. Hopefully there'll be enough glue that gets down in there to take care of it. And we'll find out, I guess, when we tiller it. When we tiller it, you know, gotta wait till we tiller it to find out. After we fire harden it, we'll have to see what happens. This AE40 stays, it takes 24 hours to harden. So we got some working time here. I'm able to get that in pretty deep. Okay, well, I have this up like this. I'm able to take this AE40 and put it underneath, deep inside that crack. Now I'm going to squeeze this and remove this. and wipe it clean. Okay, so here we go. I think it's going to be okay, just for the heck of it. This thing was under enough pressure for today, but just going to give it a little extra clamp time here. I'm just going to leave it 24 hours, sand it, fire harden it. Got some alcohol, just going to wipe it, wipe the excess glue off. Well, some of you guys are probably going to look at this and say, oh, that's going to break. But I bet you after this is glued and I'm done with it, I'm going to have a good shootable bow. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, just show you once again, it's all glued up. And I just have a feeling it's going to be absolutely fine.